video, I am going to talk about what are some of the reasons why you should not homeschool. So I always love to stress the point that every family is different. Everybody has different needs. Every child is different. Every family is in a different season of life. And so homeschooling is not always the best choice for a family in a particular season, okay? We did not homeschool from K to 3 our son. We began homeschooling after his 3rd grade. And when I think back at it, and sometimes I think to myself, man, I wish we would have homeschooled beforehand. And though I have that desire in my heart, I've thought about it and I'm like, maybe that wouldn't have been the right season for our family. Maybe we would have been so stressed and frustrated. Maybe we wouldn't have been in the right mindset and have had the correct convictions to homeschool and just see it through successfully. I don't think we would have enjoyed it as much as we enjoy it now, because I think that as time goes on, you learn different things and you think differently, and that helps. You know, that just helps solidify certain decisions that you make. When it comes to homeschooling, there's just so many different modules and ideas and philosophies for homeschooling, and there's just not one size fits all. So everybody is different. Every parent has different situations. Every child has different needs and they thrive in different settings. With that being said, let's hop into the reasons why you should not homeschool. The very first reason why you shouldn't be homeschooling is if you're choosing to homeschool because it's the cool thing to do. It's the fad. It's what everybody is doing. That is not a good reason to homeschool. Because let me tell you, the moment that your homeschool day is not going the way that you idealized it in your mind and you got inspired through Pinterest and all these other homeschooling families, and you were like, oh, that is the way it's gonna go. It is so cute. You have your homeschool setup all set up and it looks great. And the first day things just flop and you try it and it's not going the way that you envisioned it. You are going to give up very, very quickly. And then you're just gonna resort back to sending your kids to wherever it was that you were schooling. Okay, you should really have a solid, concrete reason as to why was it that you chose to homeschool. Have that solid reason, because I tell you from experience, those solid reasons as to why you homeschool are the reasons that are going to hold you through the difficult seasons of homeschool. Homeschooling is not always going to be, butterflies and rainbows and peaches and roses. Okay, you're going to have difficult, hard days. You're going to have days where you're going to be like, why in the world did I choose to do this? And if you have those core strong reasons, your convictions as to why you're homeschooling, you're not going to give up. Another reason why you should not homeschool is if you are not willing to commit the time. Homeschooling takes time, okay? It takes, especially as a homeschooling working parent, it takes time after you have come home from a working day, or after, if you're a person that works from home, it does take time away from whatever it is that you want to have as personal time. Okay. So if you're not willing to sacrifice and commit that time to homeschooling your children, you are going to have a really hard time. You need to get the time from somewhere to homeschool your kids. So oftentimes you're going to have to sacrifice personal time to homeschool your children, especially if you work. It's the nature of the game, my friends. So if you're not willing to commit time and sacrifice time to homeschool your children, you shouldn't homeschool. For us, my husband has changed his schedule. He works 7 days a week, and the time that he homeschools the kids throughout the day, he has to sacrifice some time, and he's changed his schedule around so that we can make this happen. And time where he could just be sitting down, taking a break for himself, he uses it to homeschool the kiddos. When it comes to me, I come home from work and I start dinner. And while I'm cooking dinner, instead of just taking a breather for myself, I hop right into reading class and we work on that. And then at nighttime, we might together work on an art project or do some writing, whatever it is that we need to do. We just fit it in times where in the past, I might have just used it to just chill time, time to just relax. And I'm not saying that you can't have time to relax. I believe that you need to build some time inside your homeschooling schedule for self-care. And my husband and I do that. We take time to just give ourselves breaks. And if I'm doing something with the kiddos, my husband takes his break. He goes out, he can go out with his brother or, go to the store and, just do something that is fun for him. And then the same thing for me. If I have a personal day off of work, my husband doesn't just leave me the kids. He takes them and he's like, you deserve your personal day off. And he will just keep the regular schedule we have and give me that personal day off. But you have to understand when it comes to homeschooling that this is a lifestyle. Okay. Homeschooling is a way of life and you have to be willing to commit time to educate your children. Another reason why you shouldn't homeschool is if you are not flexible. You have to be flexible. Your kids are going to all be in different levels and sometimes you're going to have to adjust the lessons and change things up. And sometimes the days aren't going to go the way that you planned them. And you have to be okay with that, with saying, you know what? We're just going to leave this for a different time. Let's do this instead. My husband is amazing at that. He is so good with flexibility and adjusting the curriculum and changing things around so that it works for our children. He makes adjustments on a daily basis. When it comes to me, sometimes when we are reading, especially for my daughter, sometimes she struggles with certain things. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to stop right there. I think we need to go back to this and that is okay. Or maybe we need to revisit this, these blends, or let's revisit this rule before we continue on. And then the same thing with my son. Not too long ago, we were reading Paul Revere's Ride, and that poem is a great poem, but based on him reading it the first time, he did not understand that poem. I made that into a closed reading activity and we spent 3 to 4 days on that poem. And we read it the first time, and that's the time when I realized he really wasn't getting what was happening. The second time around, we chunked it every stanza by stanza. We analyzed figurative language in there. We talked about what the tone of it was, what might the author be talking about. And then we went and we found this Lego action thing about this particular thing, Paul Revere's Ride. And my son was so mesmerized. He was like, that was a cool poem, Mom. And I'm like, I know. You see, when you stop and you just take your time and just read it several times. So an activity that really was only supposed to take 1 day took us almost the entire week to finish, but there was so much benefit out of that. And, you just have to be willing to be flexible. You shouldn't homeschool if you think everything is going to be perfect. And this kind of goes like with the beginning. Things aren't going to be perfect, okay? Things aren't, I know that sometimes we believe that we're Mary Poppins and that our homeschooling days, we are going to be singing and, doing all these great, wonderful things with our children, and they're just going to sing along and it's just going to work like magic. It's not, okay? Truth be told, sometimes our kids are not going to want to do it. And they are going to not have a very good attitude. And sometimes we're not going to have a very good attitude. And that's okay because we are humans. We're all going to have off days. Things in your homeschool are not always going to be perfect. Okay, it's life. Sometimes you're going to be like, you know what? we are just going to take a break and we're moving on to something else. And that's part also of being flexibility, but you need to go into homeschooling understanding that things are going to have to change. Things aren't going to be perfect, and that is okay. Because if we go into homeschooling with the mindset that everything is going to be perfect and butterflies and rainbows and unicorns and all the beautiful things, and not understanding that things aren't always going to flow so well, we are going to get frustrated. And then that frustration is then going to feed into our kids. And it's just going to be this negative cycle that is not going to be good. So just, if you think homeschooling is going to be perfect, it's not. So just have that mindset that, things aren't going to always go the way I planned them. And that it's okay. And last but not least, you should not homeschool if you are not willing to ask for help and get the help that you need. Okay? When it comes to homeschooling, it's very humbling. In my case, as a homeschooling parent who is also an educator, I've been, the first day of homeschooling, my eyes were just opened, and I was like, my goodness, my husband is the pro here. Like he's amazing. He does this so flawlessly. I saw him with my son, and he's so good. And he was also homeschooled as a kid. So my husband had a great mindset coming in. Like he knew, the way it works. With me, I initially had the mindset of a regular classroom, which is not the case. And I've learned that homeschooling and public school are very different, or traditional school are very different. But you really have to be willing to ask for help and be willing to take the help. Okay. So when I look at homeschooling in our home, is a collaborative effort. And I've said this over and over again. We've learned that there are certain strengths that I have, and there's certain strengths that my husband has, and we don't take things personal. We work on what each other's strengths are, and we make it work, and it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And we balance each other out, and I know that I don't have the answer to everything. And my husband knows that he doesn't have the answer to everything. So there are times that I've told my husband, hey, can you do this with the kids? And he's like, sure. And there are times that he has come to me and he said, can you take over this with the kids? And you do such a good job with that. And I'm like, absolutely. Don't give me math. You keep the math. Let my husband do the math. He's amazing at it. He explains it so well, and he does so good with the kids in that area. So I know that that's an area I need help. But, even accepting help from my in-laws, I know that I need them. They are such great contributors in our homeschool. Even sometimes asking a friend if they can help you in a certain topic. There is nothing wrong with needing help from other people as a homeschooling parent. I think that's the reason why so many people also do co-ops, because they help each other and they encourage each other, and it's just a beautiful thing. So if you're coming into homeschooling with this attitude that I know it all, I'm going to do this all by myself, I got this, I don't need anybody's help, you should not homeschool. Okay? You need to come into homeschooling with a humbling heart and a humbling spirit, and knowing that you don't know it all. You might know your kids, but you don't know it all. Okay? And that there's going to be times that you are going to need to seek help, whether it's from friends, families, and most importantly, from God. So, I feel like we have really had to rely on the Lord and ask the Lord for guidance and help. And how is it that we are going to implement and do things in our home? So those are my 5 reasons why I don't think you should homeschool if you are thinking of homeschooling. If there are other reasons that you should think we should add to the list, go ahead and add that in the comments below. I would love to hear your input. Thank you so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.